Here.
Cody, I really enjoyed the job you did. While I was in Argentina the last couple of weeks, I was kind of hoping Shane had either been kicked out or quit the club. And hopefully it's one or the other, and you'll be the new one. You did a great job. Thank you. Our guest today is Barry Patton, and Barry's going to talk to you about an acronym called SAFE. And I think we all have had a brush of living here over the years of Barry's family and his parents, John and Nancy. And I think they made a very significant impact on our community. I think we were lucky that they chose Stillwater to live here. And Barry quietly headed a committee that started in 2008 and has raised an unbelievable amount of money for SAFE. And we'll go into that in detail. But I think, we know Barry as an insurance agent and as a property manager, but he's also a 1980 graduate of Stillwater High and an 84 Oklahoma State graduate. And I think you'll be amazed at what he's done in 14 years for Stillwater schools. So Barry, come on.
Thank you very much. I didn't know I'd see so many familiar faces in here, which is really makes this easier for me because I'm far from professional speaker. But I am here to tell you about SAFE. I'll start out with how it began. And some people, well, not a whole lot of people know this. You guys may be kind of one of the first. I was called over by Mike Simpson, who at the time was the athletic director over at Stillwater High School. And at that time, I was in the fitness industry, and he wanted some help on purchasing a couple of pieces of equipment for their little gym they had. I hadn't been back in that school in years and years. And so I went over there and looked, and how many of you guys, who went to Stillwater High? Okay, who was there? We go right there. So you went through the gym at one point in time, and do you remember the bench presses, the little U things that looked like they were made in someone's garage, and the chain-driven Nautilus equipment? Well, that was there in 2008. I obviously graduated way before that. Some of it was junk in the corner. Most of it was dangerous. Not any of it was correct. As far as biomechanical motion or anything like that for athletes. So I asked Mike, I said, why are we a 6A school and we have junk in the gym? He said, oh, this isn't the only place we have junk. I mean, let's go walk around. And then my second question to him was, I was at the football game not too long ago, and there's like 4 hay bales in the end zone with banners strapped to them and company names on them. What's up with that? And he said, well, the equipment that we're trying to buy, that's how we're going to get the money. Okay. Still not real professional. I don't know if any of you guys remember those in the end zone, hay bales with, not a whole lot of pride in that. And so basically from there, it kind of stuck in my head for a little bit. And so I was talking to a gentleman named Rick Wallstead, and he went to school there. And we kind of decided, you know what, maybe we ought to do something about this. Maybe we ought to walk the walk. So we kind of put our heads together and thought, well, we're going to have to get some heavy hitters involved in this thing, to get it off the ground and get it going. So our original board, which I really applaud, was Larry Hayes, Rusty Shaw, Chris Norris, Trace Morgan, Rick Wallstead, and myself. And these guys put up some money. We got 501(c)(3) forms. We did it all right. So SAFE began from there. The reason it was formed, obviously, was to promote athletics and activities for Stillwater students, um, and by basically increasing the funding for their programs through a general fund and through directed donations. Um, and both of those have been very successful. Yeah, I know part of me not being a good speaker is how many times I'm saying so pardon that. Junior high and high school is such a vital time. And this is a little bit of the philosophy behind this too. It's such a vital time in building a person's character. Remember back when you were in seventh grade or sixth grade or eighth grade or ninth grade or something like that. You know, when you come out of high school, you have a lot of who you're going to be set based on the experiences that you've had before that. You know, some of these kids don't have that support at home. A lot of their work ethic, their self-discipline, their goal setting, their integrity, their tradition of pride come from the teams they played on. They come from the coaches that mentored them. They come from participating in something. A lot of them, believe it or not, would never graduate high school if it wasn't for athletics. Now, I know that's kind of a bold statement, maybe, but there's a lot of them that, number one, wouldn't show up to school. Number two, if they did show up to school, wouldn't make the passing grades that they have to make to be in athletics. You have to show up to school. You have to make passing grades just to be on the team. And a lot of that's been studied, and it's definitely true. In fact, even the ones that we have there, I was just on the phone getting some statistics from the AD this morning, and he said one of the problems we have is after the season's over, some of those one season players, then all of a sudden the grades drop. Well, that's proof right there. The season's coming up, in the last portion of the year, all of a sudden the grades come up, and because they know they're going to have to do that to qualify to be on the team. So you got to attribute a little bit of that, to athletics and activities as well. You have to have a product that attracts students. I remember a while back, my son was in football in junior high or something like that. We went to Ponca City for one of these multi-play, you play so many downs with a team, then you move on. I'm sitting there in the stands looking at the Stillwater practice jerseys for the junior high. Well, everybody had these sharp little jerseys on and everything. And if you saw the latest longest yard with Adam Sandler, you remember the mud scene with them playing? Well, okay, that's pretty much what our guys did. And once again, something's got to be done about this. So we have provided a quality facility, of course, with the bond issue, the stadium. There's a lot of other things going on right now that'll come to fruition in the future. But that's another thing. The equipment, just like college or anywhere else, is what attracts them. Our goal is to have 100% participation at Stillwater High School and junior high on extracurricular activities. I don't care if it's chess club. It doesn't make any difference. If you're going somewhere after school and participating in something after school, that counts. We've got about 75% right now. You what? No, I said, I don't care if it's chess club. It doesn't make any difference because we're talking about activities as well as athletics. We have about 75% to our best estimate. We've got about 25% to go. I have a feeling that's going to be a tough 25%, but we're going to work on it. Funding, another thing that we were a little bit afraid of is the fundings change for the Board of Education and all that. Is a lot of you guys know from the state. I mean, what happened in like 2004, 2005, they cut it. I don't know what percent they cut it by, but I know that athletics was getting ready to really have an issue. We didn't go to some games because we couldn't afford to do the travel. that was another incentive that, we're going to have some sort of ancillary source of income to offset something like that. Our plan is to also make it easy for people to make tax deductible donations. A lot of parents, they have these individual little groups that support their kids' sport, basically. Most of those aren't a legal tax deduction. And so if you're going to give anything over $500 to something like that and you get it audited, they're going to throw it out. With SAFE, they will not. So a lot of the organizations now have their checks made to SAFE, and SAFE puts it in an account for them or writes it directly to their organization, so they can do whatever it is they want to do. And it's all legal that way. You get a IRS approved receipt. We do. We're working on endowing athletics, which we have come to our first goal. Which actually, the way we're doing that is all the signs in the stadium, all the signs in the main gym, and the scoreboard are exclusively SAFEs. Nobody else can put a sign up. And that's how we've gotten to where we were. The school board has sanctioned this. They're all good with it. We did it professionally, so you don't have hay bales in the end zone tied, banners tied to them. In a $27 million stadium, that wouldn't look good. So we've that's where the largest source of our revenue has come from over the last 14 years. We assist the school also in ways outside of just raising some money, similar to the OSU Foundation, only minuscule compared to what they do. And basically, when there's red tape that the school is going to have to really do a lot of jumping through on something, because we're an arm's length and we don't have to follow the same rules they do, a lot of times they will utilize us to bypass that a little bit. There's nothing illegal about it. It's just, sometimes funds flow through us a lot easier than they do through the school system. An example of that was the baseball field that Matt Holliday donated money for. It was just easier to do it that way, and it worked out just great. Let's see. We have a little bit of recognition for some people. Yeah, I don't think they could stand this for another hour, Chris. Okay. Original people, there's a plaque on the stadium, just a shout out to Stillwater Medical Center, Bank First, Simmons Bank, Bank and A, and Arbest. They were Pioneer Package donors, which is the highest level donation for the full term from 2008 to 2020 when we met our goal. And there's a little plaque there for them. The current board that we have is Chris Norris, Ken Skillman, Russell Borson, Chad Watkins, Casey Kendrick, and myself. Chris and I are crazy enough to have been on this since the beginning. But we've actually accomplished quite a bit. There's groups that things happen to, students, and there's groups that can make things happen. And I kind of think that SAFE maybe is one of those groups that has made some things happen. That's all I have. Yeah, we went out door to door on the signage. In fact, it's kind of funny. Half the signage in the main gym and a lot of the signage in the football stadium, I physically, with some other people, carried it up there and placed it beside. My poor dad and I did half of the main gym. So those 4x8 sheets of metal, we carried up the stairs and put them in the frames that were there. All the sales were door to door originally. Basically just, but basically, in a nutshell, it was time for Stillwater to step up and support our youth. You know what? Stillwater stepped up. They really did. And I got to applaud everybody that has that. Pitch
To Kat. So what is going to be your pitch to these kids who aren't involved to get them involved? What will be the rationale or the reasons you will give them to make them want to join up or to participate?
Well, it's not going to be on an individual basis. It's going to be on a funding a club or a football team or a baseball team to a point where they have all the top equipment or whatever the case is. We want to make it attractive for that kid to make his own decision. Hey, a couple of my friends are on that team. I think I'm going to try that out. They have cool helmets. You know, when something attracts you to it, and for you to really commit to it, I think you have to make the decision yourself. I don't really think someone else can really talk you into that. And so that's the angle we're coming from. Isn't necessarily going and finding kids that aren't, participating. It's making it attractive for them to participate.
How does this group differ from the Booster Club?
At this point in time, it differs because there is no booster club. They can't get the participation. I'm sorry to say that, and thank goodness we're here. Hopefully there'll be some, I don't know, maybe people in the future that might start that back up again. But right now, there really kind of isn't. Before, we were actually funneling money through them too, and now we're just streamlining it directly to the athletic department.
So does SAFE support all extracurricular activities? You kind of joked at chess club, but all, not just traditional athletics?
Absolutely. It'd be by request on most everything, because we can't really, because of the little fundraising clubs and because of some of the clubs that actually really don't need that much, you can't really blanket it. But let's say we have some sort of a brilliant chess player and he has the chance to go to Lafayette to play for the world championship, but he can't afford to fly there. You need to come see us.
So does SAFE make the decisions on how the funds are allocated among extracurricular?
Yes, they do.
I see that as a high school model UN participant that never received the funding from our schools to participate in UN. So
Yep.
I love this.
And that is part of what we're doing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is SAFE going to be involved in any future sports facility development around town?
Boy, that's a loaded question.
Go ahead and unload it for us.
We're going to be involved in whatever the school board would like us to be involved in.
But what about non-school sports like Little League stuff?
No, not at this point in time. I hope we grow to the size where we can, but right now we've passed our first goal. We're heading towards our second goal, and nobody's asked what that was. That's surprising.
What's your next goal?
Yes,
What was it?
$1 million
And what's your second goal?
to
And how are you raising funds?
signs.
You only use signs to raise funds.
We only use signs to raise funds. The signs are a contribution recognition. This is an IRS rule. Since this is being recorded, it is a contribution recognition.
Yes.
It's not advertising.
Well, I guess what I was going to lead to is what kind of fundraising you do, but that's what you do.
That's our main source. And then we have investment income. and the investment income is doing very well as well. So oh, okay, yeah. One of our one of our fundraisers is we reached out to Matt Holliday and asked him if he would come and speak at a banquet to where we could, you know, raise some money and maybe kind of supercharge this thing a little bit. And he agreed. We had it up at OSU. He brought a couple of his friends with him. They basically sat up on stage and just kind of bantered around and answered questions is really what they did. It was hilarious. People, and they brought a bunch of memorabilia that we auctioned off too. We made $50,000 that night. So, and it was a lot of fun. You should have seen some of the St. Louis Cardinals fans running around there. You didn't want to get in their way. I mean, my gosh, it was incredible. Yes, sir.
As I understand it, SAFE supports only extracurricular activities. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's another organization called SPEF that does the education side.
Okay.
So we have a sister, brother, whatever you want to call it, organization. It's the Student Education. Yeah, Stillwater Public Education Foundation. And they do what we do for education.
Okay. Thank you.
How much money do you, how do you determine how much money is going to go out, and how do you maintain the endowment? And I think we kind of know how those things work, but can you talk about that?
Two ways. Right now for athletics, at the end of the year, we determine how much of a check we're going to write them, and we write them a check. And you know, once we've assimilated everything that we're going to do for the year, the other side of it is requests. We will definitely listen to requests such as the chess club scenario or something like that. If somebody comes to us and it's a legitimate OSAA or legitimate activity that has directly to do, you know, that's school sponsored.
So Barry, for this problem of fundraising and supporting these extracurricular activities has to be common among other 6A and other high schools in the state. So have you done any benchmarking on how other successful 6A schools actually address this problem that you're trying to address? And where do you assess how we stand in what you're doing versus our so-called competitors?
We're cutting edge. There aren't a lot of foundations that support high schools and junior highs. About 3 years into this, I started getting calls from Mustang. I got a call from Union, and I got a call from Jinx. They don't have an organized fundraising. Union was getting their money from a car dealership that committed $1 million at $200,000 a year for 5 years. When they called me, they said, "What is it you guys are doing? We've heard about what you're doing down there." And I explained it to her, and she was kind of like, "I don't know who we're going to find to do something like that." And I said, "You guys have all kinds of money. What's the deal?" She goes, "No, we're on our last year. We're on our last $200,000. I don't know what they did from there, but yeah, I've had calls from several schools wanting to know what it is we're doing. I don't think any of them have 1.2 million in the bank. Any other questions? Thank you.